It's an inspiration to have you here, and we wish you lots and lots of luck for the Asian Games and for the movie that's releasing this Friday. From where I stand right now, it already looks like a full house to me. So we wish you a lot of luck for that. And moving on to our next session for the question and answer round, the panel discussion. This is a panel discussion to help create awareness about women's cancer and cardiac diseases. And we have an extremely talented team of doctors who will be answering those questions for you. So may I invite upon the stage, to begin with Dr. Devina and Mary, would I request you to come on the stage, please? And for the panelists, we have Dr. Veena Bhatt, Director, Department of Obs and Gynae. Dr. Anjali Kumar, Head of the Department of Obs and Gynae. Dr. Geeta Baruana, Senior Consultant, Obs and Gynae. Dr. Renu Rena Sehgal, Senior Consultant, Obs and Gynae. Dr. Hari Goyal, Director and Head, Medical Oncology. Dr. Mandeep Singh, Head of the Department, Surgical Oncology. And Dr. Amit Bhushan Sharma, Consultant, Cardiology. Just a small brief for the question and answer session. I'd request you to raise your hand so that our fellow team members can assist you with the mic. So, the first question for the day. Okay, we have...
Yes, we can have... Could you have the mic on there, please?
Thank you.
Hi, welcome Mary, that was quite a motivating speech. So don't worry, we have you have all our luck and all our love for the next games that you're going. My question to the panel, actually, let me introduce myself. I'm Rajiv Gupta. I have completed 43 summers and 43 winters. Quite young to have a heart attack. I have a major heart attack last year, which I survived, thankfully. And I'm here hailing hearty. Mainly my concern here is that there's a lot of awareness about heart attack and the symptoms in the male section of our society. But probably in the female section, I just want you to understand, are the symptoms similar, or are there any warning signs? How a female section of the society can be made more aware of, because they normally, as Mary rightly said, and Devina, you also rightly said, they tend to ignore the warning symptoms or any uncomfortable thing which happens. So if you could just enlighten the
Thank you, and I'll direct this question to Dr. Amit Bhushan, our cardiologist, who will answer you.
Hi Rajiv, very pertinent question you asked. Actually, unlike the typical male population who have a chest pain, which is like a 5 or 10 kg weight on your chest, may radiate to the arm, may radiate to the neck, may radiate to the back. Ladies, for some reasons, do not have that typical chest pain, and typical chest pain is found only in about 20 to 25% of female population. They might just have symptoms of shortness of breath, they might have symptoms of acidity, they might have symptoms of palpitations. And that is why especially ladies and especially diabetic populations who are prone to have a silent heart attack. So if you're a diabetic or if you're a lady and if you have shortness of breath, do not mistake it for asthma. If you have an acidity, do not mistake it for an upper GI discomfort. Rule out a cardiac cause first and then move ahead. There are simple tests available, like you have a pregnancy kit, you have a troponin kit. Single line is negative, 2 lines is positive. If you have a troponin which is positive, you need admission, period. And if your troponin is negative, you need some cardiac evaluation tests.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for this information.
We would have the next question, please.
Thank you, Ms. Mary Khan, for being here. I just have a small question. Is there a vaccine to prevent cervical cancer? And if so, when can that be given?
Yes. Geeta, please.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very important question actually. Cervical cancer vaccination has come up in India recently, not very long away, and it's very important for all the mothers to know, also for the young girls, that it's important to be given preferably before the girl is exposed to sexual life, preferably at the age of 9 to 11, but it can be given at any age from infancy to the age of 40-45 also. So we need to create awareness about the cervical cancer vaccination, which can prevent to a certain extent cervical cancer.
Thank you, Geeta. Can we have the next question? Yes.
Good morning and welcome to all of us. First of all, would like to congratulate and thank you for creating such a platform so that to create awareness about cancer and cardiac diseases. My question is, who are the high-risk groups for breast cancer and how do we screen them?
Yes. Dr. Hari would like to reply to that.
The patient, the people who has a family member, near family member, like first degree relative, including mother, daughter or sister or brother, even in males breast cancer is there. They are very much at high risk for the development of say breast. And the screening, best way of screening these patient is to do BRCA mutation in the higher risk patient. Otherwise, in most of the population, screening mammogram is more than sufficient and it is recommended beyond the age of 40 years of age.
Thank you, Dr. Hari. Anybody from Indian Cancer Society? You have any pertinent questions? Yes. Please hand over the mic to Madam.
The vaccination for the cervical cancer, but there is no research regarding whether it will be effective after a long time. That research has not been done so far because it has come very recently.
That's what, yes.
I think the research, let me add on a few things here. We all have to understand that there's a virus called human papilloma virus, which is associated with the development of cancer. So it's very important for all of us to do a pap smear, maybe once in 3 years. And now recently it has been introduced that if you do a HPV test also, which is a human papilloma virus, it will tell you who are the people who are at risk of developing cancer in the next 5 to 10 years time. And it's very interesting to know that cancer cervix is one of the cancers which is preventable, and it has a long duration to develop from the precancerous stage to the cancer stage. So we as health professionals have a huge responsibility to spread the awareness, because we all women can have it at any stage of our life, and if we can prevent it at the early stages, all the more better. So the research is still going on. When you give these vaccines, they have an effect for about 15-20 years. Right now, it has been shown that till 10 years, they definitely have an effect. So why not to give it to our young girls who would enter into her sexual activity stage anytime and have high risk of developing a cancer if there is an associated HPV infection in them. Another important thing I would like to add is, even if you have vaccines, the young girls or the young women, you are not going to stay away from doing a screening, which is a pap test. Pap test is something which every woman should be aware of and should do at least once in 3 years' time.
Thank you. Yes.
And related to the same cervical test, the HPV one for young girls, because it is so new, nothing is known about side effects. So actually I have been told by my gynecologist saying don't get into it just now, especially if your children are, let's say, a few years away from any danger of sexual contact. So that's a dilemma I have. That's the first question. Second is with regard to mammography. There are different recommendations of should it be every year, should it be once in 3 years, because the more often you do it, apparently you're also upping your own risk because of the radiation. So could you give us a balance of how do we, the layperson interpret the advice of how frequent is too frequent?
Yeah, regarding your first question of vaccine, like this is a vaccine to prevent female getting an HPV infection, which will further lead to develop a cervical cancer. So we are negating a cause of cervical cancer. This is a normal vaccine. It is a viral attenuated vaccine which, like other vaccines in the young age, the side effects remain the same. The only contraindication for not to giving this vaccine is that if the child has some immunocompromised, she's a weak child, she has some other problems. But if a normal child, as such, the side effects are like you give a vaccination in the childhood. There are no other side effects, and it definitely helps. One cause that HPV infection, most of the HPV infection which a female gets is when she's sexually very active. So it's basically in the young age when she gets a virus which will cause a cancer in the future life. So we are negating that virus at this point of time. Secondly, the second question regarding mammogram. Mammogram, the current recommendations are that at 40 years of age, you should start getting a yearly mammogram. That is an average risk woman. Like a normal population, every woman should get a mammogram at 40 years, and this should continue till 65-70 years when she is healthy. Okay. The other thing is that if you have a family history of breast cancer, the family history is like you have a mother, you have a grandmother. So the mammogram screening starts 10 years before the index case. Means that if the mother had a breast cancer at 45 years, the doctor will start having a mammogram at 35 years. And similarly, so if the age is more younger, like a mother has a breast cancer at 40 years, the screening has to be started at 30 years. Then we do a yearly MRI for 5 years, and then we started doing mammograms yearly at 40 years. That is how the thing is. 40 years is the baseline.
Basically, yes, 40 years is when we start, and then depending on your high risk, whether if you are at a high risk, you start earlier. But then there is nothing better than doing your breast self-exam. And I think all women should know how to do a breast self-exam. And in a particular part, and I'm sure one of the panelists will answer that question, but if you know how to do a good breast self-exam and you find something amiss or you are detecting anything which is palpable in your breast self-exam, you should meet up with the gynecologist or the breast cancer specialist. And the good news is most of these palpable things are not cancer. Having said that, if you are detecting it in your breast self-examination, please look for professional help who would then tell you what needs to be done best.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
Is ultrasound better than mammography? Is it more, I would say there is no risk involved in that. When we talk about...
Let Dr. Mandeep answer that,
Yeah.
and I will delve on to that answer because I'm myself a radiologist. So Mandeep, first on to you.
Regarding the, as a surgical oncologist, ultrasound at present, a single ultrasound doesn't have any role in screening breast cancer. It's only adds to the screening of a mammogram or an MRI. A single ultrasound is not to be used as a screening modality for breast cancer. I think Dr. Devrina will elaborate on it.
Yes, I completely agree. Ultrasound cannot be a screening tool because your chances of missing a pathology is far too much. It can complement the findings of a mammogram. It can complement the findings of a breast self-exam. When you have just gotten a mammogram done 6 months back and during a breast self-exam, you're finding something palpable. So it can complement that finding. But it cannot be seen as a primary screening modality, though in good hands, it is a very, very strong tool, and we can define a lot of pathologies. We can differentiate cancer from fat necrosis, which looks similar on a mammogram, so on and so forth. So the basic is it will complement a mammogram, and it could complement your breast self-exam if you have had a recent mammogram.
I think our question is a little pertinent. Like, you are not going to decide, should I go in for ultrasound or mammography? Leave the decision to the doctor. As the panelists rightly said initially, that most of the time, it's about 90% of the times that the breast lumps are benign, they're non-cancerous. And when doctor checks you up, he or she is the authority to tell you go in for a breast ultrasound, and not necessarily everybody would be asked to go in for a mammography, because if she feels on clinical examination that it feels like a benign lump, So you would definitely go in for an ultrasound. It's only those suspicious tumors or lumps which the clinician feels that it looks like a suspicious, you would definitely be asked. So leave the decision to the doctor, because a lot of screening takes place at that level only on clinical examination. What does it feel like and what does it look like? And then unnecessarily the mammograms would not be done, because a lot of them would be taken up by ultrasound. But mammography definitely is a screening tool for the breast cancers.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I want to know, doctor just said that mammogram up to the age of 60, 65, from 40. What about us senior citizens, 70 plus? Do we need a mammogram also? Especially if you're not in the risk bracket, high risk bracket, do we still need a mammogram every year?
The current guidelines is that after 75 years of age, the risk of dying of a cancer or risk of dying of a heart attack remains the same. So after 75 years of age, the screening is not usually recommended. It's only that if you are very healthy, then you can go ahead with screening. Before 75 years of age, yes, you should get a yearly mammogram, because detecting a breast cancer early would definitely decrease the risk of dying from it.
I just heard of 2 cases of 80 plus who have got breast cancer. So that's why I wanted to clarify.
It basically remains optional, and your professional or your breast cancer specialist is going to decide. Maybe a good self-exam can, after 75, give you an inkling what is happening. A good exam by a professional can again tell you where we are, and it is optional and left to the professional and to the individual to decide whether it is a good time to do it or not.
I think also if she has a family history, strong family history, then you should do yearly.
Yes. Yeah. Anybody? Yes, yes. Please. I'll come to you. No problem, we can take 2 questions. Yes, madam. Can you have the microphone?
Yes, I'm from the Indian Cancer Society. I just wanted to ask, when you get the pap smear test and you were speaking of the HPV test, is it done at the same time or are there 2 different tests to that? So if you have to advise someone, should we go ahead and say separate or?
Yes, Dr. Anjali will take that.
Yeah. See, it's a very, very simple test, and when we do a pap smear, the same sample can be used to detect the HPV. Rather, in high-risk population, we recommend them, if the cervix looks unhealthy, we advise them that at the time of taking a pap smear, the sample should be sent for the HPV. And as we are all aware, HPV is the reason for the cervical cancer, and as all my fellow panelists said, that it is the only cancer in a woman's body which is preventable, and for which we know the cause and we have a vaccine available. And like we were speaking about the vaccines and pap smear, I would like to stress that there is something called as a primary screening, and there is something rather a primary prevention and a secondary prevention. The vaccine is primary prevention. It doesn't let the virus enter the body. And secondary prevention is by getting a regular pap smear. So whether you get your pap smears regularly or your healthcare provider asks you to get a HPV, it is always a good idea. I think again the decision lies with your healthcare provider. If the doctor tells you that you should go in for a HPV test, it should be done. And if you get a HPV along with a pap smear, you really don't need to get a pap smear done again for next 3 years. It is that important.
Thank you. Yes, Reshma?
Though being a doctor but not being a cancer person, after all the hype of Angelina Jolie's mastectomy in a preventive form, so who are the patients whom you recommend that the BRCA gene should just be tested, and who are the patients whom you may look at for a preventive surgery?
Yeah.
For coming on to BRCA gene, the BRCA gene testing has to be done under proper medical guidance. A proper group of patients which have to be pinpointed, and those patients are only those patients which have to undergo BRCA gene. So it's like those patients who are having breast cancer before the age of 50, or they have a very strong family history of a breast cancer with ovarian cancer, or they have a male member who's having a breast cancer, or also they have a specific ethnic populations like Ashkenazi Jews or like especially in Northeast, like they have identified some group of societies which are having a very high incidence of breast cancer. Those are the patients which are actually recommended to undergo BRCA gene. But BRCA gene testing has to be done after you have met a genetic counselor, and after the advice of a genetic counselor only, then only somebody should be asked to get a BRCA gene. BRCA gene, at this point of time, we do not recommend that a whole population to start getting a BRCA gene testing done.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Can we have the microphone there? Yes, madam. I'm just coming back to you. Maybe we need some more cardiology questions and some questions for Mary Com. Don't miss the opportunity of speaking to her.
Ma'am, question regarding that cervical cancer. As you are suggesting for that vaccine, there are different manufacturers, and recently we came to know some manufacturers having some side effects of that vaccine. So, which manufacturer are you recommending?
Renu, maybe you would like to take that? I mean, we don't recommend a manufacturer, but the good standard ones, and from a good pharmacy. Anything else you want to ask?
We have a bivalent vaccine there, and we usually recommend both, as the studies so far available to us when we look at the cancer screening for cervix are almost the equal. I mean, we haven't seen any society, any recommendations in favor of one or the other. So we cannot say that one vaccine is better than other. We have seen that both provide equal preventive goal what we are looking at. Both the vaccines. You want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add one thing, that in Artemis Hospital, I don't know where you have got this information that some vaccine is having some side effects.
That is, it came in news.
There are 2 vaccines which are available that for just 2 brands that are US FDA approved, and in Artemis Hospital we have a policy that we don't recommend anything which is not US FDA approved.
Yes. I think what news he's talking about is when these vaccines arrived in the scene, and after a year or so there were a couple of countries where it was banned. But then later on it was found out that those deaths, 1 or 2 deaths had taken place, but they were not aftermath of the vaccine. They happened because there was some predisposing factor already lying in. Somebody had a meningitis and died of it. Somebody had some other problem and died of it. But it's been in the market over a period of time now, and it is definitely safe, and it's not going to give you any side effects. And answering your second question, there are only 2 companies right now who are giving these vaccines. And it's not that we selected because of the companies. One vaccine has an edge over the other, whereas the other vaccine has some benefit over the first one. So there is one vaccine which prevents the papilloma virus in the vulva and all other things, the warts, genital warts and all. The other vaccine doesn't cover that. So it's the health professional, not that we get, some benefit out of those companies, but we see who needs what, at what age are we giving this vaccine. Is this a young girl, or are we giving it to a woman at the age of 46 years? So one vaccine is good in this age group and the other vaccine is good in the other age group. So there's nothing like, too many of them and we have a difficult time in selecting which one.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to just add one very important point is that both the things, vaccine and pap smears, are important. So never think that I've taken a vaccine so I don't need a pap smear, or if I'm getting regular pap smears I don't need a vaccine. Both the things are complementary to each other, but they are not interchangeable. It's very, very important for all of you to know that both the things have to be done simultaneously.
Yeah, that's a valid point, Anjali.
After 30 years, hello? How many vaccines is recommended?
No, the vaccine dosage is the same for every age group. From 10 years to 45 years, we have only 3 doses to be given.
That's right.
Any population, any age group.
Yes, ma'am.
I would also like to add something here is that these vaccines have been in use for last 8 to 10 years, and whatever data of the antibody levels we have right now is that still the people who are given the vaccines have good antibody levels. But we are yet to see whether those antibody levels persist for next 15 years or 20 years it may so happen that we may need to give a booster after 15 years. Like when the hepatitis vaccine came in, we now know that we need a booster also. For this also, probably next 10-15 years, we get still more relevant data suggesting that probably these women need a booster also. But then whatever data is available with us till about almost 10 years of usage, it says that the antibody levels are still good in these patients.
I would also like to know about the cost effectiveness of this. Is it only for the elitists or is it available for the regular masses?
Actually, ma'am, I'd like to answer that. The fact remains that the cervical cancer is not the disease of the elite. That is the first thing that we all have to know. It is more prevalent in the low socioeconomic.
But the cost of the vaccine?
The cost of the vaccine has remained a factor, though the cost has decreased over the years, and we hope that it comes down a little bit more, and we are hoping that it can come in the government's vaccination program, and it can be provided free of cost to the low socioeconomic people and the multiparous women who have more high risk of developing a cervical cancer.
I would like to add one thing. As it is a sexually transmitted virus, so along with pap smear and vaccine, very simple preventive method is barrier contraception. I think for young people it's very important that barrier contraception is, you need to remember. And also, multiple sexual partner also has a role in because causing cervical cancer. So we need to work on that.
Thank you, Dr. Geeta.
Yes, I think ma'am has been waiting for a long,
That will be the last question, but let me assure you, all our panelists will be available outside for the high tea as well, so you can
we would need some time for
This
some
is
Q&A.
Right to Mary Com, straight from the heart. Anupam Kataria, Goodwill Ambassador for the Touch of Hope Foundation, Mary. I stand here today. 2 years back, I awarded you the Rex Karambir Puraskar Award. Hats off to her for giving us the guidance and teaching us to go to Manipur, where we've opened a HIV/AIDS clinic with Dr. Chinkolal. Here today I stand, Mary, to request you to use this platform to let's help the people of Manipur who have no health facilities, who have all the problems, who need care, support from us, August gathering visiting here. Mary, I stand here to request you to be the brand ambassador to Manipur to bring HIV/AIDS, cancer, as well as cardiac problems, where we're having it in great amounts with the young generation in Manipur. I request you, ma'am, keep the flag flying, keep the thing going, and stand by us. We are all with you. Thank you.
very well said, ma'am. And Mary is, of course, the brand ambassador for cervical cancer, and today she joins us as a brand ambassador to Artemis's fight against cancer and cardiac diseases. So thank you so much. So I'd like to thank all our panelists here.
Thank you, Parul. There's a high tea outside, and the people from the press who would like to ask her some questions could now come forward. Yeah, press. We are just taking the press now.
So
only press.
I request each one of you, to proceed towards the high tea.
May I take a minute? May I just take a minute? I'm sorry. I would just request Mary to come down and Mrs. Taru Kanwar to hand over a memento to her. Just a minute before we open the floor to the press.